Hello, everyone. My name is Jane Kim, and I'll be reading an excerpt from a book I'm sure most people are already familiar with, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling. I chose this book not because it's easy to tell or not because most people already know about it, but because it truly shows that outside of the captivating magic and evil wizards, Harry Potter is a simple story about friendship. And for a boy who has felt alone and unwanted his entire life, this chapter demonstrates how Harry met Ron, his very first friend. The train began to move. Harry saw the boy's mother waving and their sister, half laughing, half crying, running to keep up with the train until it gathered too much speed. Then she fell back and waved. Harry watched the girl and her mother disappear as the train rounded the corner. Houses flashed past the window. Harry felt a great leap of excitement. He didn't know what he was going to, but it had to be better than what he was leaving behind. The door of the compartment slid open, and the youngest red-headed boy came in. "Anyone sitting there?" he asked, pointing at the seat opposite Harry. "Everywhere else is full." Harry shook his head, and the boy sat down. He glanced at Harry and then looked quickly out of the window, pretending he hadn't looked. "Hey, listen, we're going down to the middle of the train. Lee Jordan's got a giant tarantula down there." "Right," mumbled Ron. "Harry," said the other twin. "Did we introduce ourselves?" "Fred and George Weasley. And this is Ron, our brother." "See you later." "Bye," said Harry and Ron. The twins let the compartment door shut behind them. "Harry Potter?" Ron blurted out. Harry nodded. He pulled back his bangs to show the lightning scar. Ron stared. "So, that's where you know who?" "Yeah," said Harry. "But I can't remember it." "Nothing?" said Ron eagerly. "Well, I remember a lot of green light, but nothing else." "Whoa," said Ron. He sat and stared at Harry for a few moments. Then, as though he had suddenly realized what he was doing, he looked quickly out of the window again. "Are all your family wizards?" asked Harry, who found Ron just as interesting as Ron found him. Um, yes, I think so," said Ron. "I think Mom's got a second cousin who's an accountant, but we never talk about him." "So, you must know loads of magic already." The Weasleys were clearly one of those old wizarding families the pale boy in Diagon Alley had talked about. "I heard you want to live with muggles," said Ron. "What are they like?" "Horrible." "Well, not all of them. My aunt and uncle and cousin are, though. I wish I'd had three wizard brothers." "5," said Ron, and for some reason he was looking gloomy. "I'm the sixth in my family to go to Hogwarts. Bill and Charlie have already left. Bill was head boy, and Charlie was captain of Quidditch. Now Percy's a prefect. Fred and George mess around a lot, but they still get really good marks, and everyone thinks they're really funny. Everyone expects me to do as well as the others, but even if I do, it's no big deal, because they all did it first. You never get anything new either with five brothers. I've got Bill's old robes, Charlie's old wand, and Percy's old rat." Ron reached inside his jacket and pulled out a fat gray rat, which was asleep. "His name's Scabbers, and he's useless. He hardly ever wakes up. Percy got an owl from my dad for being made a prefect, but they couldn't afford. I mean, I got Scabbers instead." Ron's ears went pink. He seemed to think he'd said too much, because he went back to staring out of the window. Harry didn't think there was anything wrong with not being to be able to afford an owl. After all, he never had any money in his life until a month ago, and he told Ron so, all about having to wear Dudley's old clothes and never getting proper birthday presents. This seemed to cheer Ron up. "And until Hagrid told me, I didn't know anything about being a wizard, or about my parents or Voldemort." Ron gasped. "What?" said Harry. You said you know whose name," said Ron, sounding both shocked and impressed. "I'd have thought you of all people. I'm not trying to be brave or anything saying the name," said Harry. I just never knew you shouldn't. See what I mean? I've got loads to learn. I bet I'm the worst in the class. You won't be, said Ron. There's loads of people who come from Mughal families, and they learn quick enough. While they had been talking, the train had carried them out of London. Now they were speeding past the fields full of cows and sheep. They were quiet for a time, watching the fields and lanes flick past. Around 12:30, there was a great chattering noise outside in the corridor, and the smiling, dimpled lady women slid back their door and said, "Anything after cart, dears?" Harry, who hadn't had any breakfast, leaped to his feet. But Ron's ears went pink again, and he muttered that he'd brought sandwiches. Harry went out into the corridor. He had never had any money for candy with the Dursleys, and now that he had pockets rattling with gold and silver, he was ready to buy as many Mars bars as he could find. But the woman didn't have any Mars bars. What she did have were Bertie Bott's every flavored beans, Droodle's best blowing gum, chocolate frogs, pumpkin pasties, cauldron cakes, licorice wands, and a number of other strange things Harry had never seen in his entire life. Not wanting to miss anything, he got some of everything and paid the woman 11 silver sickles and 7 bronze nuts. Ron stared as Harry brought it all back to the compartment and tipped it onto an empty seat. "Hungry, are you?" Ron asked. "Starving," said Harry, and taking a large bite out of a pumpkin pastry. Ron had taken out a lumpy package and unwrapped it. There were 4 sandwiches inside. He pulled one of them apart and said, "Oh, she always forgets I don't like corned beef." "Swap you with one of these," said Harry, holding up a pastry. "Go on." "You don't want this. It's all dry," said Ron. "She hasn't got much time. With 5 of us," he added quickly. "Go on. You can have a pastry," said Harry, who had never had anything to share before, or, indeed, anyone to share anything with. It was a nice feeling, sitting there with Ron, eating their way through all of Harry's pasties, cakes, and candies. The sandwiches lay forgotten. "Thank you,"